sponsored by DeLille, Walwyn and Company Limited. Give them a round of applause, please. But we must say something about rams. For the past 3 years, we had our workshop at the International House Museum, and rams, to some extent, has been overwhelming in terms of contributing, in terms of fruits, which brings a healthy lifestyle to the kids. So we want you to give rams a round of applause, please. And we have rams representative here. Please stand for us. He's the one who had been putting this stuff together for me on almost every other day. We've been getting grapes, we've been getting apples, oranges, pears, and what have you. So we want to thank them. And to also thank we also want to thank the Development Bank for contributing towards the development of the refreshments we are going to have for the past 3 years now. Firstly, I would like to start this program with the national anthem, and that will be done by the Acapulco Boys. That was the original name. They are now the Sinkits Superstars. Welcome them on stage with a resounding round of applause.
Land of beauty, our country, where peace above, thy children stand free, on the strength of will and love, with God in all our struggles, Saint Kitts and Nevis be a nation bound together, with a common destiny. As tall as we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth, we will serve and honor thee. No sword, no spear can conquer, for God will sure defend. His blessings shall forever to posterity extend.
They were inspirational, and we want you to give them another round of applause again. They are youths and they are beautiful. This is the traditional type singing, and believe you me, it is fantastic. Then we are now going to call on Reverend, originally it's Pastor Eustace Rollins, but I don't think he's on the island, so we have to call on Reverend Rohan to deliver the invocation. Please, sir. The program, I'll just give you a few brief remarks as to the historical development of this program. This program was initiated about 13 years ago. When Barclays Bank came on the scene, we had some 50 students, and that was held at the MIS Hall. The following year, we went into the International House Museum, and we had 60 students. Most of them came from St. Paul's. we emphasized on the 5. We had Mr. Joseph Pullock as the tutor and others. We had about 3 to 4 tutors. However, that was good because we had a military person from the Defense Force who was there drilling them when they misbehave. They had them doing 100 push-ups and that sort of thing. And when people think it was a little tough, the parents were glad because they found it to be a disciplinary aspect of the whole thing, and they recommended it, and they were there to make sure that things went well. And blowing 5 takes a lot of discipline. We went into the mountain, we cut the bamboo. It's different types of bamboo. You have the he bamboo and you have the she bamboo. The she bamboo is the ones to use. Then you have to make sure it is not done on a moonlight night. It must be on a dark night because of the scientific approach to the whole thing. Then the hole is being drilled and use a lot of hot iron, turn red, and then you have to poke it through the hole, open it and sand it and bring it to perfection. So it's a lot of work. You must look for the right type of bamboo in the mountain, cut it. Bamboo is very dangerous because sometimes you cut in, it spring back and it cut you, dig out your eye and all that sort of thing. So it's a very dangerous act. And they went into the mountain and we cut the bamboo. That was the first Caribbean. Then the third year, we skipped about 3 to 4 years and we went into the International House again, the National Olympic Committee under Mr. Bridgewater. We had 55 students. We had about 70, but we had to ease out some of them. When they cannot behave, make sure they ease out of the workshop. Over the years, then we went into the Lil Walwyn. The Lil Walwyn for the past 6 years has been the contributor to this whole development. And the first year, we were able to get from them $4,000. And for the past 3 years from the 6, we had Mr. Saul Ananda, who was the tutor, guitar, and he's a singer as well, established singer. We had about we had Robert Bobby came in another year, but we had 3 tutors and we had a 5 tutor as well, so 4 tutors. And we were able to pay them out of that because people think it's something that it's beneficial, yes, in terms of the what you get out of it, in terms of the presentation of the kids and them making penny for themselves. But we had to pay at least $350 to the tutors per week. And when you do that, that is 350 by 4. You get $1,400. So you are left with nothing. We had to create other means and other things to get that done. But we want to thank the Lil Walwyn. And for the past 3 years now, the thing has been cut into half. So we were getting $2,000. So we weren't able to bring in as much tutors as we were able to do. And credit must be given to this workshop because to fight with that kind of financial strain, it wasn't easy. The development bank came on board and they gave $500 the first 3 years. Then the last year they gave 4. And this year they were able to give 3. And that is what we were able to get the food and other things with. So it was a scrabble. Plus the children coming and registering, some of them. So it was a big problem. But to get the fruits bear, with this sort of financial strain, it must be commendable to the organization as a whole because there are many groups who have other workshops and they get plenty monies and plenty stuff that could put into the thing, but then the children don't come out, most of them don't come out to be nothing. But in this workshop, I can assure you, and everybody could attest, that when they come here in this workshop, some of them some too hard and too strict. But the thing is, as long as they come to this workshop, there must be discipline. And you will see as they present themselves this evening that discipline is the key in the whole development of the musical environment. And music is a universal custom which sends messages. It's like language. And believe you, the instruments will speak for you this evening. And you'll see what we get out of the workshop from these meager. Just this year now, the Lil Wallen, because of the financial strain again, we were able to get $1,500. But I still want to thank the Lil Wallen, because without them we could not have the workshop. And on top of that, I had to order some banjos, you see there, these small little quattros. 10 of them came from China. I took the responsibility of my own self, order them, to pay for them, the invoice, and other things, to get them here, to make sure that we have a whole heap of them. Because when they use the guitar is too big for their hands. Not only that, as soon as they jump on the guitar, they cry out. They say the strings burn in their fingers, even with big people. So we have to get something that is more, is better for them. It's easier for them to play. And they more enjoy this. Because the strings are from the nylon, which is much easier. Whereas the metal strings burn their fingers and they burst quickly. So it's better, and they've been moving through quite nicely. We have a whole heap of them. We hope that the others will come. To the inclement weathers, we had to be battling with rain. Sometimes they come and then they had to go home because of the wind and rain we expect. But we want to give them credit as well for taking on the mantle and coming here, and some of them being patient and disciplined. In fact, just last week, I had to flog 2 of them. I didn't really want to do it. But they came in with an attitude, a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. And he began to use indecent languages within and a lot of interference. And I think his whole home bearing was unbearable. And we had to deal with him, give him a whipping, make him sit down and understand. Because from the time he came in, it was problems. The other one, and they left the workshop. But we were glad, because with that attitude, we didn't want to inculcate that sort of behavior into the youth. And then it would have spin off in the end, because every minute we had arguments, fights, and all sorts of things there. And I had to put my foot down once and for all. We brought in people to speak to them and so. And we thought that was a good thing as well. So that enhanced the entire program. The whole structural development of this workshop is not easy. But with the dedication, the application, the inspiration, and the motivation, we think that that helps to inculcate the true moral, ethical values within our youths. And that in itself is the key towards the whole development. Because the neglect of culture surely causes lack of love. And with the cultural development being placed into them, into their hands, it gives them the impetus and the scope to advance themselves. Because this gentleman here, he has been with us for the past 3 to 4 years. Stand up there, Tejanai, Pemberton. And 5 years. And let me tell you something. This is serious, and you would understand exactly what I'm speaking about. Tejanai, I'm not telling any lies, and his mother could attest to that, and his grandmother. He made over $2,000 last year alone. He bought his shoes, his clothes. He bought all of his shoes. He bought his clothes, over $500 worth of clothes. He had monies in the bank his mother had. He made US dollars, an excessive amount of US dollars. And for the whole year, we played at the Marriott, silent please. We went to the Marriott, we played in the Marriott for 7 months. And he was there with us most of the time. We played at the Kitchen Hill. Because you see, you have to set your standards very, very, very high. You might look simple and ordinary, but when you're out to do something, you have to make sure that it's done properly, and then the fruits will bear. You'll see the fruits bearing, and then you'll see the young people benefiting from this, because it's important. We had 3-year-olds in the workshop and others. Some of them came, they left because of disciplinary actions and other things. But, however, the fact is that we are here, and I want you to give them a resounding round of applause, please. We also have 2 of them from the Cotton Thomas School here. We are fighting with them as well, and you'll see them come and display their talent. We don't want to turn back anyone. We also had Miss Pastor Rohan, who's the superintendent of the Methodist Church. She was a part of the workshop as well. She learned the guitar. Well, she was on the guitar, but she advanced on the guitar with Mr. Bobby. The quattro, she also plays the piano accordion very, very good, and fife as well. And her grandson here, he plays the quattro as an expert. He just came into the workshop, and we went over to Value Mart just last week. I said I wanted to take some of the younger ones with us. We stood by the door from 3 o'clock to 8. And we made monies there that he was able to make for himself. Stand up there that they can see. He was able to make, I think it's $40-something to carry home in his hand, cash. And that is how we did. And the other young one who just came into the workshop in a week and a half, Ronald, stand up as well. He went home with $40-something as well. And this is the inspiration for the young entrepreneurs. And this in itself is good. And we'll be doing a lot of that. In fact, I have a eulogy to do for a funeral that's on Monday. A young man in Boyd's. And the band will be playing there in the church. We'll be playing all the gospel hymns and everything there because we practice for that. And next week, we'll be playing in the Pastor Hazel of the village church. We have the things for the sanitary people. We'll be playing in the service and we'll be carrying outside, doing all the musical thing for them. So they're moving and going places. And they only have to be patient and understanding. And trust me, they will come out on top. Because it takes a lot of work. It might look simple, but you have to be there with them to make sure they don't trouble this because they're going to pull off a good thing. They turn this, they mash up this. You have to make sure that they sit properly and they learn because learning is essential. We want to make sure and to give you all inspiration. And then I want to thank the proprietor of this place, Mr. Heiliger. Mr. Othniel Heiliger. Last year we came and he gave us the church down there free of cost. We were there, we had the food and everything there, and he was very nice to us. I came back this year and I spoke to him, and he gave us up here, we're on the higher heights now, and he gave us free again. And in fact, he just came in from overseas. When you see him come up this step, he just came back from overseas. And we want to give him a lot of thanks and credit. He runs this whole commercial enterprise here. It has gas, it has shopping centers on it, it has church, business out here with big trucks and all sorts of things. It's a comprehensive thing he runs here, and we need to give him every support and every praise that is essential. When he comes back in, I'm going to bring him forward, that everybody could have a good view of him. We are going to roll on with the program, but we'll call on Miss Ione Willer.
Good afternoon to Mr. Nisbet, my good friend, to all our distinguished guests, and our graduates this afternoon. Help me to give our graduates a big round of applause. This is your moment to smile. Good. I want to express sincere appreciation to Mr. Nisbet, Doctor of Culture, for the invitation to share once again in this special occasion. From the number of graduates here, I know that Mr. Nisbet means business. I recall recently that he came by to update me on the workshop. He was really excited that Reverend Joyce Rohan was a participant and that Mrs. Willa Franks Liebert was going to bring the featured remarks. He told me all about making sure that the children weren't just there to learn music, but they were learning to be disciplined young people as well. He shared with me the partners that came by to talk with the participants. I learned that he had ordered instruments, as you heard, all the way from China, and he was working hard to make this year the best year yet. I must say that I admire Mr. Nisbet for his passion, his commitment, and unfailing love for what he's doing. 9 years ago, he saw a need, and he's working hard to make a difference in the lives of children and adults. Mr. Nisbet is a great role model to emulate. This summer instrument workshop is a great work that Mr. Nisbet is doing. He taught the students in the workshop, but the learning will not stay there. These children who learned how to play the banjo, the guitar, the fife, and the cuatro will take back what they have learned to their various homes and schools and share our rich culture with family, friends, and schoolmates. Zach also makes sure that the children are equipped with necessary school supplies for the start of the new school year. Long live our culture, long live Zach's annual summer instruments workshop. I would like to join and commend Delil Walwin and Company for their sponsorship for the 6 years now. Rams Trading must also be commended for their contribution. I encourage other partners to come on board and support the great work that Zach is doing. We all enjoy the sweet music of the children, and I know that the delights and the varied audiences in churches and hotels where they play. To the proud parents and guardians, continue to send your children out to the summer camp hosted by Mr. Nisbet. Children need balance. They need to engage in positive activities which will help them to mold them into positive young people and positive adults. Continue to partner with him and give him your support. Mr. Nisbet, I exhort you, do not go weary in well-doing. As long as the Creator lends you life and strength, continue to equip and empower our young people. Do all that you can to make our children's future one full of promise. To all of us gathered here this afternoon, let us pledge our support to the work that Zach is doing and to do our share for our children. I look forward to next year's closing ceremony with much anticipation. Can it be bigger than this one, Zach?
You gave words of wisdom, words of encouragement, and words that meant a lot to us all. She's the head of the education department, apart from the minister, and I know that, in fact, when I wanted the instruments to come in, I had to get tax exemption to just ease the burden. So I went down to Miss Willett, and she was rushing going into a meeting with the minister. And just as I came by the door, she had one swing around. She didn't even stop. She just swing on, she just saw. Sign, bam, put the stamp on it right away. She didn't hesitate at all. She didn't even ask what I came from, because I told her. And then I went to the Ministry of Finance, and instantaneously they did likewise. So I was able to get them in duty-free, which was a big burden. So give her a round of applause. Next, I would like to call on stage. I'm going to ask the students to do a quick selection. Quick selection. We are going to do one piece. And then we are going to have Miss Pamela Walls, who is a known musician, a woman of class, who taught at the Bastia High School and other places. Her musical excellence is known not only in St. Kitts, but throughout. The piano, the xylophone, and all sorts of music. She is one of the best we have here. And that's why I invited her this year to come and share her thoughts with them. So I'll ask her to come, but I'll ask the children to play a selection first, and then she will come and give her own description of what and how they are. So I just want to do that quickly. The band up.
gentlemen, and graduates. I am delighted to be here this afternoon to see what these young people are doing. It is certainly a pleasure to see what Zach has been doing with them. I know he's been doing this for many years, but in this day and age of crime, and our young people are using other instruments to get rid of each other, isn't it heartening to see they're using these instruments to spread love and happiness? Look at how happy they are as they're performing. That is even as we were waiting for them to begin, you know, they're sitting there and they're communicating, and that's what music is all about. Music is a language, and it's their way of communicating with each other. And I really am very happy to see what they are doing. So, gentlemen and ladies, I'm glad to see we have some ladies here as well. I will quote, "If music be the food of love, play on." Thank you very much.
It will inspire them. We are now moving straight into the presentation of the certificates. Some of them have been calling me, come like they couldn't find the place, saying they're on the way, coming and so. But we'll go through with what we have right away. So we are going to call Chavel Huggins. We have Reverend Joyce Rohan. All right. She has a certificate from here as well. I think she deserves.
Go between the two of them. Go between the two of them. Yes. Give her the certificate now. Okay. Right there. Reach out, Miss Lyman. Reach out. Yes. Good. Perfect. Look, listen down, Miss Johan. Thank you.
We have one Amalek Jackson. We haven't seen him yet. A steel player. He should have been here already. We have Tejanai Pemberton.
Sit on the ground. No. Take from the ground. Take it from me. Take it from the tripod.
Go ahead, Miss Lyman. Look straight up. Nice. Look, Miss Willa. Good. Very nice.
That is the Master Benjamin. It's a young, enterprising Benjamin. Then we have David Swanson. He's not here as yet. We also have Anthony Moving. This is a young and upcoming star. Where's your 5? You walk with your 5 as well? Okay, I have a 5 there, I'll lend you. You come forward. Anthony Moving. And this is the grandson of Mr. and Mrs. Joyce Rohan. His father is here with us. He's somewhere behind here. So he's from Nevis originally. So he came down specifically to see him today perform. Play a tune. As well, so do some little thing with the 5. He has his own 5 and he forgot it. Some moves. Yes, one soon. And would you believe that I was the one who taught him that 5? Trust me. Okay, then we have Rodriguez, he's not here. That was one who got whipping. And then we have Devante Utley. Devante Utley, up one time. Devante Utley's on. First time he has been playing that instrument. First time he came into the workshop. He's never been in the workshop before. And then we have Libad, Kwame Libad. But he's not here neither yet. They've been calling me all the time on the phone saying they're on their way. Swanston, there. Then we have Rogers, Ronald Rogers. This is a young aspiring banjoman. Mr. Rohan? About you. Mr. Rohan? Rohan. Mr. Rohan. We have here Williams. We have Shadani Williams. Shadini Williams. It's a young lady. This is how this will look. And then we have a brother coming next, Edward. Come in. And then we have Edward. Edward next. This is Edward. Right? It's not set. That's why you say they pull it up from. Let's see some action, man. Haven't reached us yet, so just put their stuff down the sides along. And then we have here Brown, George Brown, NJ George Brown, Neville NJ George Brown. NJ. He's not here. We have Dick Quinn Pemberton. This is, he's from the Cotton Thomas, and he's been playing the guitar. The son of Mr. Lamb right here. He's been fighting with the guitar. Play something. And the guitar man as well. And his father is the one who gave us all the oranges and the grapes and everything from Rams. He was the one inspirational in getting them to us. So we want to give him a round of applause. He's behind, just behind here. I know. Come on, turn forward. Yes, man. And some of them just came in the workshop, just come in the workshop and to see how they are doing. You have to give them a lot of credit. We have this young lady just came in the workshop, and she's Anika Faith Wilkin. Just came and she determined to learn. And this is the sort of thing. So this is Anika Faith Wilkin. That's her name. As your next. Okay. And then we have here George Brown. George Brown? Okay. Then we have here, let me make sure because some of them are not here, that's why you see we have to swap and change. We have Aziel Bell. Aziel Bell. He's a vocalist, a guitar player, a quattro player, a steel player, and everything. We have a young gentleman just came into the workshop as well. Neville, he's a left-hander, and we want him to just do a little demonstration because he's eager to play. He's always in there singing. When you come in there, he always singing some kind of song. He's from Molyneux. So give him a round of applause, please. He's a left-hander. He's a left-hander. Dance up to man. Dance up, bless you. Dance up and play. The fact is he's holding the cards, and that's very important. As he go along, he will get better and better and better. Yes. Sing something. Sing something. Okay, give him a round of applause, please. Neville. Right hand. Give your right hand. Right hand. Yes. Right hand. Right hand. Right-handed. Right-handed. Yeah. Take his paper from me, please. Okay, when he's finished. Good boy. Look up. Look up and smile. Shh. You see, people feel that some Mistresses Willa, Margaret, Rose, Libard, ni Franks. And Miss Willa, ni Franks, she was a teacher at the Bastia High School. She taught in Barbados. She taught all over the world. This is a distinguished personality. Miss Willa Franks Libard was also, she worked for the United Nations. Over 25 years, she was in Switzerland, Geneva, Switzerland, representing St. Kitts Nevis. When it changed and came to the United States, Miss Willa Franks Libard was there. She has retired recently, and she's here in St. Kitts. Please stand so that they can acknowledge who I'm speaking about. This is a woman of stature, one who we can emulate, a dear friend. She is the family of the Franks, Sam Franks, Joseph Franks. Her brother is right there with her, who resides in the outer world. She is a woman with a lot of resume behind her. She looks simple, but is a very powerful and distinguished lady, because working for the United Nations in those days in Switzerland, it's a big thing. And there are many other things that I can speak about. She is a church person. She is an expert on mathematics. She worked with the Eastern Caribbean Development Bank. She was an expert in mathematics, who not only carried her full strength there, but throughout the entire region. Miss Willa Franks is someone that we can look up to, and I want to introduce here. She came last year to the International House Museum because she came to see what I was doing there. And from the time she entered there, she spoke to the kids last year. And instantaneously she said, I want to donate this $1,000 to you and the museum. So I used it wisely in certain areas. And trust me, that was of great inspiration to me. And I believe she saw the depth of what I have, the knowledge that is there, the worth of the International House Museum and the strength. And she said, I want to present this to you. And this year, she came just the other afternoon again, and I have it in my hand here. She donated another $1,000 to me for the museum. I have it here. So I think this speaks volume. She said, Lord, 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 don't put it out there. And I said, Miss Franks, when somebody give me something, don't care what it is. If you notice me with the aquatic sports, if you give a fly, I go on the radio. And I think that is worth talking about, because this would give other people the inspiration to see a need and to fill the gap. And I'm going to use it wisely in my business as well, because trust me, I had to spend excessive money with the musical instruments, the workshop, not the workshop, but the museum itself needs certain things, and I thank her from the bottom of my heart for this. And since she said, I'm going to ask her just to present it to me so that the public, this is the second one, $1,000, and then to take up the yeah, she don't know how much I appreciate this, I can tell you. Yes. So the cameraman.
Mr. Zach Nisbet, I'm delighted and honored, in fact, to give you this check. You said the amount already, so it's out there, $1,000 to you for your work. Many things have already been said this evening in terms of what you've done and what you're doing for these youngsters. And I want to commend you for it, and I want to ask for God's blessings on you and your work, that you could go from strength to strength. And so, this small token of my appreciation, if I can say that, for the work you're doing.
Thank you very much. And look at persons and to see what they have contributed and their worth, and come forward. And I do appreciate it. I will do everything to, this gives me the inspiration and the impetus to go on. And I'm surely appreciative of such. So I want to thank her again, and her husband as well, and her family that's behind her, Mr. Joseph Franks and others. Thank you once again. Now we'll just call her to the podium to deliver the feature address to these kids.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Zach Nisbet, for those very kind words of introduction, very glowing words. I don't know if I fully deserve them, but thank you nevertheless. Distinguished guests, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, a good evening to you all. I am particularly pleased and honored to have been invited to give the feature address at this award ceremony for participants of the 9th Annual Summer Traditional Musical Instruments Workshop. I must especially thank Mr. Winston Zach Nisbet for this invitation. I have known Mr. Nisbet, affectionately known as Zach, for many years. He's a family friend, and have been impressed over the years by his steadfastness and dedicated hard work in promoting the local culture in its many facets, initiating in some cases and carrying on the legacy in the area of culture, be it in the area of traditional Christmas folklore, such as the masquerades, organizing the annual Easter Monday aquatic sports, being custodian of International House Museum and the Edgar Challenger Library, and now specifically as initiator and organizer of the summer workshop of traditional musical instruments, focusing on the guitar, the quattro, the banjo, and the fife, which he started some years ago, 13 years as he indicated here. I wish him continued success in this endeavor. My brief address this evening will have as its theme, preparing for passing the baton. Preparing for passing the baton. Many of us may have followed on ZIZ television or other channels some of the ongoing events at the 15th International Association of Athletics Federations, that's the IAAF, World Championships currently taking place in Beijing, China. Our country has become a very avid enthusiast of athletics, with our main world-class athletic stadium named after one of our foremost athletes, Kim Collins. Too often over the last several years, we read and hear of the negative things that young people are doing, including engaging in crime. But that is only one part of the narrative, albeit a real and sad part that often overshadows some very good things that are happening to and with our young people, what they are doing and being engaged in. This workshop is one such example, where young folks from, I understand, as early as 3 years old up to 14 years old can spend several weeks of summer vacation learning a very useful art and skill, music. I am told that the workshop draws from primary and some secondary schools from throughout St. Kitts, and there have also been occasional participants from the sister island of Nevis, and I think we have some of them here today. I have had the opportunity from time to time to drop in on the workshop activities that Zach has, seeing the participants practice their art. I have heard them play at various cultural events and at church, and I understand they even earn good amounts to help buy school supplies, and I think we were told more about that earlier this evening. I admonish you, awardees, to stretch yourselves. During your youthful years, you are physically agile and mentally alert. You have the energy. Each day has in 24 hours. It has in it enough time to do many productive and useful things, and you would want to make good and productive use of that time, daily, weekly, monthly, and over many years. Go to bed early, get up early, say your prayers, brush your teeth, help with household chores, eat your breakfast, and be ready for a good and productive day at school. Ideally, you should have done your homework the night before and have your books prepared and packed for the next day. The parents and guardians in turn, and you're here this evening, are responsible for providing a good and nurturing environment in which the child can thrive. Keep this up, and you are well on the way to laying a good basis for a successful future in life. We are essentially a Christian nation, and so it should not be askance for me to quote a very familiar passage from the Holy Bible, the words of which are as apt today as they were when written thousands of years ago. They are from Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I must commend the parents and guardians of the awardees here this evening for the important role you are playing in this regard, including in your encouragement and support to them in these productive activities. You want to stimulate their interest in good and positive things, including in wholesome socializing. Of course, one can socialize in a virtual world, on the internet all day and all night with these new technologies. But it has to be so much better to interact in real time and in a real direct way with other human beings. There's so much more stimulation and real learning for a lifetime that one can acquire through activities such as this musical workshop. Sometimes you hear the young people say they are bored. We need to encourage a good balance between their academic work and other activities that would stimulate their interest and also from which they could gain good knowledge and help in shaping their character to last them a lifetime. It is important for them to stretch themselves, to have dreams and establish goals which they strive to pursue. So they must be provided with the opportunity and encouragement to do so. St. Kitts and Nevis is a young nation of only 32 years this September and a population of about 54,000. The world population, as I understand it now, is 7.3 billion. So we are just a speck but we want to be a powerful speck. We want to have our young people develop in every area and be leaders in their own country as engineers, economists, doctors, lawyers, musicians, carpenters, agriculturists, environmental specialists, law enforcement officers, nurses, educators, computer specialists, accountants, to name a few. We are very fortunate here in St. Kitts where it comes to access to education. The children of St. Kitts and Nevis are blessed in many ways. They have universal access to education through the primary and secondary school and beyond. Government provides virtually everything a child needs if the parent does not have the wherewithal to provide some of these things. Well-trained teachers, free tuition, school books, school uniforms, school meals, laptops, and so on. I recall about a couple of years ago, I was visiting a family friend, and the grandchild was sitting down in the living room where I was sitting, and I saw her tapping away at her laptop. Now, I had read somewhere that government had gotten some laptops, but I assumed it was for the fifth formers. So I asked her, what class are you in? She said, third form. I said, third form? They're giving laptops to third formers now? She said, I had mine since I was in first form. So even from the first form entry into the high school, they get the laptops. Some may say that government gives so much that parents can become complacent because everything is provided by government. It is not so in many countries of the world where there's violent conflicts and many still live in extreme poverty and many children do not go to school. And talking about conflicts, I recall on one of the missions I went on while I was at the UN, I went to West Africa, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and they were just in their midst of this violent conflict. And I believe some of the parents here and family members and friends might recall hearing about the conflict in Sierra Leone, where the then leaders of those countries, one of them, I can call his name Charles Taylor, I think he's now in a prison somewhere in Europe, after he was tried by the criminal tribunal, would give small children drugs to incite them to even to go and attack their own families. So you call them the child soldiers. And in Sierra Leone, also in Liberia, they would go and they will ask you, what do you want, a short sleeve or a long sleeve? If you say short sleeve, they cut your hand here. Long sleeve, they cut it down here. So I saw a few of those. And I recall also the situation had deteriorated so badly that the children were selling books to get a few cents, a few dollars. So I saw one, they were just sort of almost like scrapping away. But I bought just to know that I, gave something. And so that they weren't actually begging me, but they were purchasing. I was purchasing something from them. So we have a lot to be thankful for here. I want to encourage you parents to continue to be supportive of your children. Be steadfast in your support. Monitor and inquire regularly into your children's progress, not just academically, but in their general behavior. St. Kitts and Nevis has been making very good economic strides over the last several years. And with this progress, we are attracting persons from other countries in the region and from further afield. It is important for us to strengthen and enhance our own cultural identity as we interact with newcomers to our shores, but also as we venture abroad. So this is another good measure where we try to resuscitate and promote our local culture. The St. Kitts Nevis Returning Nationals Association has also, over the last 2 years, held an annual Caribbean Black History Family Quiz to improve the knowledge of our students on Caribbean affairs and to enhance their research capabilities. It has focused on 5 broad areas, namely Caribbean history, sports, music, literature, dance, and theater, and religion. One thing I've noticed here, I do not see live dramatic plays as we used to have once ago. And I'm just hoping that at some point, some of our folks will start doing that, because they were so rich, I would say, but they seem to have just waned. I want to take this opportunity to recommend to parents and students alike an excellent book by former governor and local historian Sir Probin Innes, entitled Historic Bastille, The Story of a West Indian Town. It includes a section entitled Chronology of Events in the History of St. Kitts, which covers the period from the island's discovery in 1493 to its independence with Nevis in 1983. This book provides a good background of the legacy that has been left for us in St. Kitts. It is fascinating and informative. It is not a question of living in the past, but knowing your past, your history, from whence you came, to provide a good context and basis from which to move forward. Perhaps too heavy a book for the very young ones, but for those who are now in high school, it would be good to obtain a copy and read it. You want to be well-rounded. You would want to empower yourselves to be prepared to be leaders in your country. All of you youngsters here this evening can be leaders in different fields in the years to come. You are already on a good path. As the years go by, you need to set your goals and pursue them doggedly, steadfastly, and with strong will and determination to achieve those goals. As we travel abroad for studies or to live even for a while, we are expected to know about the country from which we come. And this book, Sir Probin Innes' book, it helps to provide a good perspective on this. Finally, I would like to draw an analogy with the relays at the ongoing IAAF Athletics World Championships currently taking place in Beijing, China, of world-class athletes. We know this is the forerunner to the Olympics, which will take place in Brazil in 2016. I would like to draw reference to the relays, and in particular to the passing of the baton in the relay. And that's why I call the theme Preparation for Passing the Baton. Now, both the Jamaicans and the Americans were expected to battle it out for the gold in the 4x100-meter finals earlier today, our time. It's a nighttime there. They both came first in their respective qualifying semi-final races yesterday. One of the commentators noted that while the American and Jamaican teams were both superbly qualified to take the gold with their sprinting stars on each leg, the Americans have had a problem with the techniques of passing the baton. And they said that since yesterday. They sometimes fumble at this point and so lose valuable time, enabling the competitor to win. As it turned out earlier today, the Jamaicans won the women's finals by a good margin. I believe some of you would have watched it. And in a magnificent race, the men also won their finals by a good margin. The USA was unfortunately disqualified, apparently for overstepping at the point of the passing of the baton on the last leg. Now, I did a little bit of athletics myself when I was in school, and I recall with the relay, if you have the 4 points, after the person runs, at each point after that, you have a sort of margin to the front and to the back. And the runners, the baton must be passed within that. You can run back to collect, and sometimes you see them run back and then run up with the person so that you keep the pace, or run forward. Well, evidently, and it was shown on the television many times, the Americans apparently wanted to have a jump start. So you can see that he started running forward, and by the time he caught the baton, he had overstepped. So timing is very important. Preparation, but also timing. Interestingly, the commentator had earlier said that St. Kitts and Nevis had won the bronze medal in one of the relay championships some time ago when there was passing of baton problems with some of the larger countries. I wanted to use this analogy to point out how important it is to prepare our young folks for the day that we, the older ones, have to pass the baton on to them to take full responsibility for their lives and for leadership in our country. Even in politics, if I may say so, knowing the optimal time to pass on the baton is important. If you miss it, you lose it. Preparation is important and timing is important. Of course, it is not going to take a few minutes, as in a race, a few months, or even a few years, but many years of training and preparation. However, there's a relatively short time in which parents and guardians are able to mold the children under their care for that eventual day. By the time those youngsters leave high school or earlier, their characters have already been pretty much determined. So we need to use those years of preparation to give them the attention, the guidance, and the support that they need to build the proper foundation and capacity for a successful liftoff. Athletics, I believe, is an area in which discipline, determination, good teamwork is instilled for top performance. I believe I have seen Mr. Nisbet endeavor to cultivate and instill those values in the young ones under his charge in his musical workshop. I believe that those characteristics, along with good moral and spiritual teachings, would help them achieve the gold for themselves, their family, and their country in their future fields of endeavor. I pray that this would be the determination of more and more parents and guardians as they themselves seek to establish a good legacy in anticipation of passing the baton. Let me conclude by commending all of the awardees, all of you, for the diligent and hard work for which you have gained your awards. The parents and family members for the support they have provided to the participants, and the team of instrumentalists for their dedicated interest in the participants and the training they have provided them over the years. To you, Mr. Zach Nisbet, and where did Zach go? To you, Mr. Zach Nisbet. Zach, many congratulations again for undertaking another successful workshop for our young folks in musical knowledge and appreciation, and may you and your team continue to grow from strength to strength with God's grace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your words of inspiration, encouragement, and I think it was a universal lecture in a sense. It had in all the substance that was required for not only the youths, but for each and every individual. And I think it penetrated to the minds of those who are conscious-minded. It was rich substance, and I want to thank Ms. Willa Franks-Leibert for such eloquence delivered here this evening. I want to thank you once again. I'll now call on our final person to give the vote of thanks, none other than the participant herself, the pastor, the superintendent of the Methodist churches, Miss Joyce Rohan, to give you the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Zach calls me a participant. I have been following this workshop for quite a number of years. I'm always present, and of course, I took the opportunity to sharpen my skills on the guitar with our brother Bobby. I always enjoy going down and just sitting down and listening to them play, and now and again say, Bobby, what this? How should I do it? Tell me some more about strumming, and so on. So it was very helpful. The saying by Shakespeare, if music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite might sicken and so die. So much is going on in our world today, and it has been mentioned tonight about the crime, the violence, all that attracts young people. So if we can get them to just pause, sit for a while, and appreciate music and be involved in music, we, through that means, can change the world. It was Gandhi who said, if we want to see change in the world, let change begin with us. And we who are always complaining about what is going on in the world, if we could encourage our children to be involved in positive things, it would be very good. So this afternoon we want to, first of all, thank God for this fine weather that we've had today. A couple of days before, if this graduation ceremony had been put on that day, it would not be held because of the weather conditions. But today was fine, and we give God thanks that we are here. We want to say thanks to Mr. OJ for once again being so generous in offering this place free of cost so that this ceremony could be held. So we pray that God will bless him as he continues to give to others. We cannot forget our brother Zach, and for all that he has put into these workshops over the years. I have been there almost every day, and I see what's going on. I see how he operates with the children, and yes, as he said, he gave some lashes, you know, and they cried and they put up their face, and one walked away. But he came back. He came back because he knew it was a good thing that was being done. And of course, this year, we had our brother Bobby Martin at the back. Yeah. I always admire, he doesn't want to come. He says everybody knows him. I always admire his coolness. He's always smiling. They say you must never trust someone who smiles all the time. He's always smiling when he speaks to the children. Yes, and I think I know what that means. So we give God thanks for both of you, for the work you've been able to do this year, and we thank all of you, all of us who have come to support this graduation ceremony. And I would like to encourage us to be there with our children and our grandchildren. Be there with them, be there for them. Let them see that we are interested in them and in what they are doing. So we thank God once again. Thank you, one and all, for coming. And may God bless us all. And the children who are here, very promising. We pray that they will move on from strength to strength. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Lady Joyce. And As I indicated again, I just want to thank Mr. Othniel Heiliger for donating us this place, this wonderful place, last year and this year. I want to thank Mr. Willett, and I can see we have a full entourage of news medias here. Miss Precious Mills is here. Miss Precious Mills, come forward because you have been doing a lot of work, and I think the persons need to know who you are. She worked at one time for the SKN Vibes. She worked for the Leeward Times. She do a lot of news reporting. She looks simple, but effective and efficient. Give her a round of applause, please. We also want to thank the Observer representative. The Observer representative, please come forward. The Observer. Give him a round of applause, please. Yes. We have ZIZ television and radio. They'll be viewing this. And also, he'll be doing some of it as well as Ms. Precious Mills for Win FM. Mr. Andre Hugh, he had to work today. So he asked him to take the stuff, and then he'll put it on Win FM as well. We have other media services here. They're too numerous to mention. And we want to thank Mr. Willett, a professional photographer, not only for me, for the government and all over. I want to, Mr. Willett, please stand and take a round of applause, please. An expert on the thing. So and I want to thank the parents who are here with us, who have weathered the storm, and I think they need to be highly commended. And last but not least, Miss Pamela Walls for her musical geniusness and having impacted on the kids this afternoon. They all get to know who Miss Walls is, somebody of stature, one who wants emulation. And I think these are credible people we have here. We also have Miss Rohan, Joyce Rohan, and her husband, two pastors, who are very, very nice persons. The families, the friends, and all. Thank you very much. We now have some food here. This was done by Miss Elvira Williams. Because just this morning, when the person who did the food last year, and we were looking for them, they're involved with the Red Cross, and she was saying, she don't know if she'll make it. She'll come this morning and come this afternoon. I said, no, I'm not taking any chance. I went down to Miss Williams, and I got a good deal. And we have all the food behind here, and all the drinks here. I want to thank the Development Bank for the tangible contribution of $300 which went into the food. We spent more than that on the food, but we thank them. And Rams, I can't thank Rams, because almost on a day-to-day basis, these children were eating 5 and 6 apples a day, and 4 apples and carry home for the parents. Grapes, we had grapes for 2 full days. We had pears. We have some apples here now that we are going to share with you before you leave here today. So we want to thank Rams and their staff and the gentleman here, whose son is a participant. We want to give each and every one, and to give God thanks for everything. Thank you very much. Okay. What I would like to do, the band will be playing some selections while we'll be having somebody serve the food inside here, quickly. Your